Hello, everyone. You're very welcome to the channel. Good to see you again. And I can't believe it's almost been a week since the really eventful race that took place in Monaco. Who said you can't overtake around Monaco? I think the Formula E cars certainly showed that overtaking is possible, and they put on a great race for us. So much so that I'm not even looking forward to the Formula One race in Monaco so much anymore because it just won't be able to beat that. Yeah, what a race we had. So as I said, we're here almost a week later, and let's see how the dust has settled on that dramatic race that took place. So as I said, this is the winning formula. I guess you could say we're a brand new YouTube channel, so we would appreciate any support that you can give us. Hit a like, subscribe. All right, so where to start? Where to start on the race that happened last weekend? And having a look at this, Costa won. Frijns was in second and Evans was in third. And I would say between the three of those racers, they very much fluctuated as to who was going to be the overall winner in the end. Very difficult to tell at one point who was actually going to win the race. But in the end, it was Costa that won in what I can only describe as an action-packed race. Have I mentioned action-packed yet? I know I've said it a few times, but I don't think I've said it enough just yet. All right, so let's start having a look at how it all came about, and of course what it means for the championship now that it's done. So firstly, let me see. So we have the 1, 2, 3 here on the screen, and if you're going to go with the formal Formula E pictures, there we go. This was on their Twitter a little bit after the race. I like it. I like the graphics there. Of course, it doesn't change anything, thankfully, because sometimes in Formula E, what happens is that there are penalties after the race that you're never aware of, and the order completely changes. It hasn't changed that I'm aware of. We still have the top three. So just going into this race, have a look at this. So this was the Super Pole qualifying, and this very much set us up for what was coming up within the race itself. As you can see here, Costa started on pole position, Frijns started second, and Evans started in third. So just correct me if you've heard that order. So if you were to look at this Super Pole qualifying position, or this order, and you were to look at the final race result, you would assume that this was a really boring race. And you would be very wrong in making that assumption. Jean-Eric Vergne was fourth, Maxi Gunter was fifth, and Roland was sixth in the Super Pole qualifying. And yeah, let's do a race recap. At the very start, after what seemed like it seemed like a calm start. I expected a lot more bodywork to be flying at the very start of the race. That didn't happen, which is great for the drivers. It's not so good for us if you want to see a little bit of action, but action isn't necessarily dictated by having large pileups. If you were looking for a large pileup, you didn't have very long to wait, though, because at the very first hairpin, we all know it, there was a large pileup of cars. Now, somehow they all managed to get moving again, and we didn't end up with a safety car, which was surprising, but it was quite dramatic to see that happen at the very start. Then Frijns overtook Costa, and passing in Monaco is difficult. So this was a great move, in my opinion. Although at this point in the race, I wasn't as set as I should have been for overtaking. I was very much in a Formula One mindset. And what we're forgetting here is that the Formula E cars aren't quite as wide as the Formula One cars, and they don't suffer as badly with the dirty air when you're following or pursuing a car ahead of you. So that's why we very often see nose-to-tail racing in Formula E. Coupled with that, we have almost like a spec series for the chassis, so you don't have different aerodynamic developments on each of the cars. And it's the powertrains and everything else that are unique to some of these teams, but the chassis itself is identical from team to team. And you do see, as a result of that, once again, that the races are much tighter than Formula One races, in that there is no runaway leaders, no runaway winners, not yet at least. It did look ominous for a while, where it looked like Mercedes were dominating the qualifying sessions earlier on in the season, and just needed to put the pieces together in the race. That didn't happen at Monaco. They were nowhere, actually. They weren't involved very heavily in the qualifying, and they didn't really play a large role in the race. I think all of the Mercs finished outside of the points, surprisingly. My initial thought looking at this race, when I saw the attack mode and its placement for the Monaco Grand Prix, I said this is going to be a really big issue for the leaders, and especially if you are having this really close, tight racing, this becomes a problem, because as soon as you go offline to try and take that attack mode, you're losing positions. And so this was certainly a circuit where the attack mode penalized you much more than other circuits. So, for example, in the last round, when we were in Valencia, I didn't think the drivers were penalized as much as they could be penalized for this. But yeah, regardless, it was quite a harsh penalty to take in Monaco. The good news, of course, is that everybody had to take 2 attack modes, so you weren't at a distinct disadvantage to everybody else. But getting the timing of that was the big challenge, and you just had to do it perfectly. So it looked like Alex Lynn actually was a big winner by activating the attack mode early on, because everybody was struggling, and you saw all of the cars were holding off on activating this attack mode. But Alex Lynn managed to do it without losing positions, and it looked good. And immediately you're looking at the leaders to see who from the lead now has a gap, who has an opportunity to do this. But nobody really did. So Costa actually dropped to second place. Then he took attack mode. And when he went into attack mode, he dropped from second to fourth. And that was considered a good outcome for activating attack mode. Next up, we had Jean-Eric Vergne versus Mitch Evans. And then when that happened, Costa ran wide for a second time. Frijns had his attack mode. Costa then went into the lead. Frijns managed to retake the lead with a very clean move into the first corner. So you could see it was really give and take, a yo-yo effect here. We didn't consistently have one car that led throughout the race, and nobody was a runaway leader in this race. So Costa loses the position to Frijns. Frijns retakes the lead into the first corner, and after this we had Jean-Eric Vergne take his first attack mode. Jean-Eric Vergne was very much involved in all of the action towards the front, despite not actually leading the race, and so everything he did had an impact on all of the drivers around him. Frijns actually managed to keep the lead after his second attack mode. This was the one period in the race where a driver actually had a good gap on the rest of the field, and so his gap was good enough that he just about held on to first place after he activated attack mode. A very strange one for Vergne, and this ruined his race. So he missed his second attack mode. He just didn't run over the sensors whatever way you're supposed to, and it looks like he just barely missed out on one of those sensors, and as a result he dropped down to fourth. But bearing in mind, he still had to actually activate attack mode, so he would have to do that again later. As this was happening, Costa was closing in on Frijns the whole time. Costa had the fan boost. He used it in the tunnel to take the lead. It was a very good move. Evans was Evans took the opportunity then to go into his second attack mode, and he immediately took the lead back again from Costa. So as I said, it was a bit of a yo-yo here for the lead. Now, this overtake by Evans on Costa was up Beau Rivage. It was a very brave move, very twisty part of the circuit. Amazing to see that. Amazing. And I hope that Formula E are posting the highlights of this race on YouTube, because I want to see that again myself. If I can manage to track it down, it will be posted here on the screen, somewhere either over here or over here. I'm not sure, one of the sides, but take my word for it. If it's available, it'll be on the video. Now, we had a stoppage on the hill then. Rast was stopped on the hill. So he did a little bit of damage to his car in one of the overtaking maneuvers where he hit the barrier, and it looked like it was his back left was bent, the suspension, so it wasn't good enough. He stopped the car on the hill, and they really had difficulty in retrieving that car and getting it back. It was very slow. So the safety car came out. It got pushed backwards down the hill back into the spot it needed to be. And the question I kept asking myself when we had the safety car is, why was Vern not taking the attack mode that he needed to take? I guess they have implemented a rule in the off-season, and actually I need to double check this because I'm not 100% certain on this, but I guess they must have implemented a rule which says that you can't take attack mode during safety car period. If anybody knows, please drop us a comment and let me know, because that was one of the aspects that I was intrigued about. I was ripping out my hair. I was saying, come on, take the attack mode, take the attack mode. And then when the race restarts, you won't have to worry about running wide and losing positions, although you won't have as much power as you would have from an attack mode. Okay, so then we had the restart. Jev dropped from 5th to 8th when he did finally take the attack mode. And this is what leads me to believe that you're no longer allowed to take attack mode behind the safety car, because as soon as the race did restart, this is the point where he took attack mode. Then he gets passed by Gunter in the tunnel. So that was a nice move by Gunter. Let me see what else happens. Costa then was pressuring Evans. De Vries stopped on the circuit. I was certain we were getting a safety car for this. He stopped on the circuit, but I don't know if it was stupid or if it was very professional, but they managed to fix this without any issue, and they managed to remove the car, and so there was just double yellow flags close to the position of the car. Now this was lucky because of course we had only a few minutes left in the race, and a safety car would have essentially finished the race at that point, and of course we would have been robbed of this great finish that we eventually got. So as I said, Da Costa was pressuring Evans for the lead. And then on the very final lap coming out of the tunnel, Da Costa pulls off a fantastic overtaking move. He locks it up, but he manages to control the car perfectly, nips in front of Evans. He nips in front of Evans and takes the lead, and that was the race-winning move on the final lap, and it was fantastic. The irony here is that he actually probably wouldn't have needed to take that measure at all, or try and make that overtake, because Evans ran out of usable energy just before the start-finish line and had to coast over the line. As a result, Evans lost second place, and that was Frijns. He took his opportunity. He took second place back from Evans, and so all three of them finished in their starting positions. 1, 2, 3. Da Costa first, Frijns in second, and Evans in third. And it almost was a very chaotic situation once again with the energy, but it looked like all of the cars judged it very well. As I said, Evans just ran out just at the wrong moment in time, and he lost second, but at least he was able to finish in third place. So overall, as I said, it was an excellent race. There was much more overtaking than expected or than anticipated. As I said earlier as well, it was a very bad race for the Mercs. They were nowhere. This at least it was one round and not two rounds this weekend. It wasn't a double header that we had in Monaco, but it certainly wasn't helpful for Mercs. And great news for Frijns, of course, managing second place, and that keeps his championship hopes alive. So I think those were all the main points I need to cover with regards to the race. Going from there, and let me get this up on my screen. Let's have a look then at the race results well, let's have a look at the top 10, basically the point scoring positions. I can try and make this a little bit bigger as well, just to help us all out here. Oh, and you know what? Actually, Da Costa, he wins the action-packed race. We're aware of that, but that can disappear off the screen for the time being. So yes, we're well aware, painfully aware of the top three at this stage because I've reiterated that so many times. But let's go from 10 down to 1. So Degrassi, he managed to get a point again. Alex Lynn was in 9th place. A little bit disappointing for Alex Lynn. He's been so strong in qualifying recently in the last few rounds, and I felt like he does deserve a good race. He had a lot of bad luck in Valencia with how things turned out there for him, but regardless, he's in the points, and slowly but surely he's picking away and getting a few points. In 8th place, then we had Nick Cassidy for the Envision Virgin Racing. In 7th place, Sam Bird. Of course, Sam Bird, disappointing for him not to be in the mix, especially when you saw how strong his teammate Mitch Evans was during the race. In 6th place, we had Oliver Rowland. Oliver Rowland, of course, qualified in 6th as well. Well, when I say he qualified in 6th, he made it into Superpole, and he went out and did a lap, but actually was penalized for going through the pits with a red light and had his time disqualified. So he actually had to start in 6th, even though he probably, if I remember correctly, he didn't end up in 6th on the timing. I think it was more like 3rd, but regardless, he started the race in 6th. Gunter finished in 5th. John-Eric Verne finished in 4th. Then we had Mitch Evans in 3rd, Frijns in 2nd, and Da Costa in 1st. And I suspect that this one will be hurting a little bit for Jev because, of course, he's still being outclassed by his teammate. Let's move on from there. From the race results, we have the driver standings after round 7 of the championship. And the big one here is Frijns. Frijns has moved into the lead of the championship, and he takes that over from Nick de Vries. As I said, a really bad weekend for Mercedes, and they'll be looking to bounce back at the next round of the championship. But for the time being, yes, Frijns is back up to the top. And you can see round 4 and round 6, Frijns scored 0 points. So, yeah, it swings and roundabouts for Formula E. There's never, as I said, there's never one consistent driver or car that does well in all the rounds. And of course, the qualifying is partially responsible for that as well, with the higher placed drivers from the previous round going out first in qualifying, and of course, having to deal with, well, not a dirty track. In some cases, it can be dusty, but a greener track, I suppose, is the correct terminology to use there. Mitch Evans now is up into 3rd place, and he's only 8 points off the lead of the championship, so right in contention as well. And this win brings Da Costa into contention also, and he is a grand total of just 10 points behind the lead of the championship. So you can see things hotting up very nicely there. Even if you look at 5th, 6th, 7th place, we have Sam Bird, Stoffel Van Dorn, and Jean-Eric Verne. Those guys are all in contention as well. They're not even 20 points behind the leader. If you want to go in advance of 20 points, you look at René Rast in 8th place. Of course, he has a gap of 23 points to the lead. You'd never say never in Formula E. 23 points on a double header weekend can be quite easily achieved if you're going well. We have Oliver Rowland in 9th place in the championship, and Jake Dennis, of course, who won the 2nd round of the Valencia E-Prix weekend, is in 10th place. And looking at that top 10, what surprises me here, of course, is René Rast and Oliver Rowland. And it's not so much that it surprises me, but it's more a disappointing reflection on Lucas de Grassi and Sebastian Buemi, who between them have quite a few world championships, but they're just not at the races at the moment. No pun intended, but they're really not challenging for the race positions right now and are being outperformed by their teammates, and rightly so. Their teammates look a lot better than them. So from there, let's have a look at the team standings after round 7. And so at the team standings, we do have Mercedes, who remain on top despite the fact they had a horrific weekend in round 7 and received 0 points. And in fact, at the second race, round 6, so which was the second Valencia E-Prix race, they also received 0 points between them. So that's a bitter pill to take from them. And Jaguar are 2 points now, only 2 points behind Mercedes. So they've closed the gap. And there we see DS Tech Cheetah in third place. And in my opinion, DS Tech Cheetah have the strongest driver lineup on the grid. Although you can make that argument for plenty of the teams at this moment in time, because they all have great drivers in Formula E. An impressive field that we have this season, in my opinion. And then looking down the order, next up we have Envision, Virgin Racing, BMW I Andretti, Audi. Look at Audi in 6th place, over 50 points off the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Very disappointing for them. That's, of course, the Audi Sport Abt Schaeffler team. Schaeffler, I should say. My German pronunciation is not the best, as you can hear. And maybe I just won't say the Porsche team, their full name. And that will really show me up. Mahindra are in 8th place. We have Nissan e.dams, very disappointing for them, in 9th place. And Rocket Venturi in 10th place. And we had some strong performances from Natto throughout the season. So surprising to see them just there in 10th place. But they also have the Mercedes powertrain. And you can see it's like a role reversal between 1st and 10th at the moment. So it's not doing all the wonders in the world for them. Next up, let's have a look at all of our race winners so far. And you will notice that we have only one driver that has won more than one race so far this season, Nick De Vries. He won round 1 and round 5, as you can see here. Of course, round 2 was won by Sam Bird. Round 3, where we moved to Rome, was won by Jean-Eric Verne, I should say. Round 4, then we had Stoffel van Dorn. So lots of Mercedes wins in there. Round 5 was De Vries. Round 6, we had Jake Dennis take his first win for BMW. A great result for him. And of course, as we've just discussed, in Monaco, we had Antonio Felix da Costa as the winner there. And then we moved to a double header in Mexico coming up on June 19th and 20th. I can't call it. I have no idea who is going to do well. I suppose we're looking for Mercedes to bounce back at the Mexican E-Prix or the Mexican E-Prix. Because there will be, of course, a double header, so 2 rounds of action. Really looking forward to that. Enjoying Formula E immensely this season, I would say. And yeah, I think that's everything I have for the time being. So thank you very much for joining us. That was a current state of affairs for Formula E, where we stand at the moment. As I mentioned, Da Costa wins an action-packed race, and congratulations to Formula E on making the Formula 1 race that took place the following day in Spain, the Spanish Grand Prix, seem relatively boring by comparison. I know it was all in the strategy, and I have another video covering that. But yeah, for Formula E and for good racing action, this was right up there. This was a 5 out of 5 race, in my opinion. As I said, thank you for watching. Please like this video, leave us a comment, subscribe as well. Don't forget to subscribe so we can grow the channel, and I will speak to you very, very soon. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend.